Again, welcome to the committee, and 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chairman Graves, Ranking Member Larson, and all members of the committee. I want to thank you for the opportunity to testify today and for your continued partnership. Before I begin, I do want to take a moment to remember Representative Donald Payne, Jr. He was a pleasure to work with. As you know, he was a constant champion for more accessible and resilient transportation, and we will miss him. Just 3 years ago, I was making the case for the bipartisan infrastructure law in front of this committee. And now we are in the middle of an infrastructure decade unlike anything this country has seen since the Eisenhower administration. I'm proud to report that we are now supporting over 50,000 transportation projects in all 50 states, D.C., Puerto Rico, and all U.S. territories. Our country has chosen to end decades of underinvestment. And I'd like to share a few examples of what this new level of investment in infrastructure means to the American people and economy. I'll start by mentioning the Brent Spence Bridge between Kentucky and Ohio, one of 9,400 bridge projects nationwide. Anyone who's traveled along I-71 and I-75 knows this bridge is a critical thoroughfare. It's also one of the worst trucking bottlenecks in the country. Improvements have been talked about for years, and this administration is finally acting to make them happen. Just last month, the project cleared its comprehensive environmental review, and the construction that will upgrade the existing bridge and break ground on a new companion bridge will start soon. When it comes to rail, we are modernizing and upgrading our freight and passenger rail systems to make them safer. Across every region of the country, we're building new tunnels, expanding routes, and upgrading tracks. Through the Railroad Crossing Elimination Program, a first-of-its-kind initiative created by President Biden's infrastructure package, we're improving or eliminating over 400 railroad crossings. In addition to addressing the inconvenience of waiting for a train to pass, these projects are creating safer crossings for drivers and pedestrians. We're also using our authority to make our freight rail system safer. Earlier this year, we issued final rules to require emergency escape breathing apparatus for trains carrying hazardous materials and to establish minimum safety requirements for train crew size. We've conducted 7,500 focused inspections along high-hazard flammable train routes, issued safety advisories, and developed a new rule to require railroads to provide real-time information to first responders when a hazmat incident occurs. Turning to aviation, airports of all sizes are undergoing major upgrades to meet the increasing number of people flying. I've seen some of this work firsthand in recent months. I was in Georgia in April to celebrate a construction milestone for the new Terminal D at the Atlanta airport, done without major service disruptions, which is important for the biggest airport in the world, busiest airport in the world. In May, I got to see the work going on at Missoula's airport in Montana, where they're updating an 80-plus-year-old terminal to match current passenger capacity and ultimately offer more flights, recruit more airlines, and keep travel costs down for passengers. And under the leadership of FAA Administrator Mike Whitaker, we have refocused the oversight of Boeing and will continue to hold Boeing accountable as they carry out their action plan and regain trust on safety and quality improvements. A little over 2 weeks ago, I joined leaders in Maryland to mark the reopening of the Port of Baltimore. After the shocking collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in late March, we quickly released emergency funding to put toward rebuilding the bridge. We've worked closely with county, local, and state governments, as well as other partners, to help mitigate the impact on our supply chains while that critical port was temporarily closed. And now, less than 100 days later, the Port of Baltimore is once again open and fully operational. Put simply, there's a lot of important work going on right now, making communities more accessible, creating good-paying jobs across the country, and keeping our supply chains strong. And our work has helped lower the number of traffic fatalities on our roads for the past 8 quarters and continues to make all of our transportation systems safer for everyone who uses them. There's much more to be done, and we need the continued partnership of this committee and of the Congress to fully realize the potential of this new infrastructure era. I want to thank this committee for getting the FAA reauthorization passed into President Biden's desk. Thanks to your bipartisan leadership, the FAA has vital resources that will further modernize our aviation infrastructure and keep our aviation system as the safest and most efficient in the world. I'm also pleased that this law protects the automatic refunds rule and supports other consumer protection work this department has fought so hard for, like getting rid of fees that parents have had to pay to sit next to their young children on a flight. Yet this country needs similar bipartisan leadership when it comes to rail safety. As I mentioned, the department is doing everything possible under our existing authority to upgrade and modernize our rail infrastructure and make our operations safer. But we need to set even higher standards, and we need Congress to pass the Railway Safety Act to make tracks, cars, and working conditions safer for those who work on freight rail and to protect those who live in nearby communities. And I know we can get it done because the last 3.5 years have been a testament to what is possible when our department works closely with this committee. With your partnership, we can keep this momentum going, deliver good projects for more communities, build and rebuild our transportation systems to meet the 21st and even 22nd century needs of Americans. Thank you again, and I look forward to your questions.